Welcome to Comics League. I'm Jared, and for today's video, I thought I'd do like a sequel to my video that was on DC needs a reboot. Here's why. So the way that I want to approach this topic is I'm gonna basically outline some fixes that the comic book industry should institute in order to like create a more healthy fandom, a more healthy industry. In other words, here's what I would do to fix the comic book industry. Okay, so number 5 I would do is cool it on the events, because here's really the key here, because you need ample time to like grow with these characters and really get to know them. That's part of the reason why a lot of these new characters don't like latch on that well. A lot of them do. So some new characters do jump on well. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but a significant number of them just get created and just disappear because they throw them into, let's say they create them in like a single comic book and not even an event. Then you have event. You don't have the opportunity to really grow with this character and really understand his or her motivations and such. You really don't get the opportunity to like really fall in love with this character. At least that's from my perspective. You guys comment below what you guys think. Another one another point that I really wish that the comic book industry would do is institute like a limit. If you sell below a certain like threshold, you're done. You're out. Doesn't matter if you're buying Michael Bendis, which I think he should have been out from day one, but that's besides the point. Doesn't matter if you're Bendis or some unknown indie writer that just got in. If you can't sell more than a certain amount of books, you're out. Because too many people fail downward. And what I mean by that is that they sell below like optimal levels and then get a better book. I'm like, no. Additionally, the big tier characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Justice League members really should be for writers and artists that are experienced. Now, what I mean by that is, now I'm not saying tell new people that they can't do anything with those characters. What I mean is that tell them that once you get some experience and actually start to, let me put it this way, you have to earn the right to write or draw Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the top tier characters that built the comic book industry. Those should be a goal, not a starting point. Doesn't matter who you are. They should have given Bendis like a street level book just to make sure that he can write for DC, because writing for DC and Marvel are two very different things. I've done multiple videos on this channel about the differences between Marvel and DC. So once again, it should be like if I do well with the fan base, if I really sell books, then guess what? Or what they could do to be, it could be a little more fair, is say if each like subsequent book in your series keeps selling more, in other words, if there's an upward trend, then we can talk about maybe giving you, this is part 3, when you give them a book on the Trinity or like the Justice members, start with an Elseworlds book, because that way you can like get to know the main character, the main gist of these characters first before you start writing them in the continuity, where not only are your changes or is your writing going to affect the main DC, your character like Superman, Bendis, jeez. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm very salty about that. But also what it allows you to do is it allows you to essentially say, okay, what was it? Okay, yeah. Essentially what you end up doing is you end up saying, okay, so maybe people don't like my version of Superman. So they say, okay, we tried it. We'll give you this Elseworld series. Because some writers are fantastic at Elseworld stories and sometimes less than optimal, arguably, at in continuity stuff, like Tom Taylor. Some of his in continuity stuff is fantastic. Like his Nightwing run. Fantastic. Absolutely great. But when you think of Tom Taylor, at least for me, I think of Injustice and Deceased and Dark Knights of Steel. That's it. That's what I think of when I think of Tom Taylor. because some writers don't really write well with a strict continuity. Bendis was a very specific issue with this. So next, what I would say is actually enforce editorial standards. Like essentially, if there's like a piece of art that's below your standards, say no, you have to fix this. If this writer, no matter who this writer is, writes a character out of character, like Bendis with Superman or Tom King with Batman, tell them, no, redo this. No, we're not going to do this. Actually stand up to your creatives and say, no, you have to adhere to certain like guidelines, essentially. Because I feel like take Bendis, for example, and he's the best example of this. When he came to DC, they gave him whatever he wanted, which was Superman, and let him do whatever he wanted because they didn't want him to like leave them and go back to Marvel because they just got Brian Michael Bendis. So they just let him do whatever he wanted with Superman. He did some really stupid things. There is pretty much no redeeming quality of his Superman run, I would say, because he aged up John Kent, revealed Superman's identity to the world, made us think that Lois Lane was sleeping with Lex Luthor, brought back Jor-El as a bad guy. I'm like, this is all really stupid. Like really, and revisited redid the Death of Krypton, and so you can bring in a new character and get them royalties. I'm like, no, this is not good, dude. So anyway, what I mean is that in the editorial staff has to actually grow a backbone and tell these people, no. It's like this way, John Ridley Superman, that should never have gotten him being violated in prison or heavily implied violated in prison, that should never have gotten past the editorial proposal. Editorial should have said, nope, you're gone. Or not gone, redo this. And to tell the creatives, I don't care if it's essential to your story. We will either delay or cancel the book, or we're bringing another writer. Do something here. That's really one of the most important things. And the most important thing is, and this is a problem that I think applies to not just comics, but really pop culture in general. Abandon the overemphasis on social justice politics. Now, what I mean by that is that you can have a book that advances a political message. Now, the issue with it, the way it's done now, is it's done now in a way that's not realistic and it kind of conflicts with the story, like Captain Marvel doing anything, or like that one scene in Falcon Winter Soldier where Sam is almost arrested because he's a black guy and they forgot that Sam was an Avenger. I'm like, no, that wouldn't happen. Particularly law enforcement would not forget that Sam Wilson was an Avenger. Or they would say, oh, that's Bucky Barnes. Wait a second. Okay, he's good. He's with Bucky Barnes. There you go. Problem solved. But that's my point, when it really just goes against the story and violates story rules that are established in the universe. And once again, you can have your own social justice message. Heck, the X-Men are all about that, and they do it. In my mind, the X-Men are the gold standard of that, because they make it so they make the message general enough. Like, hey, you could be like anyone that's other. Like, let me take police brutality. Here's a great way to illustrate that point, but not be like too on the nose that it just turns off your audience. Because really, when your audience comes to comic books, they don't want to necessarily like see what's in their real world in their books. What I would do is I would make it a Green Lantern story, because pretty much after the Sinestro Corps War, the Guardians made it so that the Green Lanterns can kill. So what you do is you have a couple of corrupt Green Lanterns being brutal on a planet's civilian population. There you go. That way you can make it so if you wanted to take this as an allegory to police brutality, you can. If not, you're just reading a kick-ass sci-fi story. So that's really, like, I think the most important thing and what they should work on more. And really the rest of them will kind of come from that. Oh, and also, here's a bonus one, and this goes for both Marvel and DC. Respect your talent. Like Jonathan Hickman, Jason Fabok, Jeff Johns, they keep like sabotaging the storylines of their proven writers. like Jeff Johns greenlight. Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, House of X, Powers of 10 revitalized the X-Men franchise. And then they said, no, we're not going to go with that. And I'm like, then why did you bring in Jonathan Hickman? It's the same issue I have with Warner Brothers all of a sudden sabotaging Zack Snyder. I'm like, if you didn't like what his vision was, that you, by the way, approved because he outlined the whole thing for you, why did you hire Zack Snyder? If you didn't like his vision or Hickman's vision or something like that, don't hire the creative, because you know that they have to run their stories by you. You didn't like the story being brought in, just say, it's not really going to work out. Okay, done. That's the key. Respect your talent, because all those things are talent based. I think the other points that I brought up are based on if you have a good like bullpen of talent like Jason Fabok, Jeff Johns, Jonathan Hickman, Peter J. Tomasi, Charles Sewell. Let me see who else. In Marvel, Bendis, only in Marvel. J. Michael Straczynski, Grant Morrison. Respect your creatives, because first off, these creators have a built-in fan base, so you're getting that. Second off, they know you're well-known writers, and this is why you have to let people start from the bottom and work their way up. In other words, start like, say I start at DC. Give me like a low-level, like street-level character that's not going to affect the continuity, but is low enough that, okay, I can start to build something too, because, hey, you could give them a like smaller, not known character, like say at the time Peacemaker, like years ago, and they could write something with a storyline and make that character like big. So really, this is also a great way for you to like get some attention to the other DC Marvel characters and so forth, because there's so many fantastic characters on both publishers. So in other words, if you get your creatives, because they're experienced enough to know how to say, okay, so let's do this, and this. Continuity fits here. Let's cool it on the events here, because they're creative enough to really work through that plot structure. So in other words, once you get that done, once you establish a more positive relationship with the talent, the rest of them will fall into place. It'll take time. None of these are quick fixes, especially the number one on social justice. That's going to take a significant, all these are going to take an amount of time. But I think that if you can fix each of these individual points, at least the comic book industry could be healthier. It may not be completely fine, but it could be healthier than it is today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys at least took some of what I said to heart. If you disagree with what I said, please respectfully put it in the comments. I'll be sure to read it. I love reading and responding to all your comments. It's one of the most fun parts of my day, because I get to interact with the fan base that sustains this channel. And let me know if you have any fixes that you think would would make the comic book industry better off than it is. Oh, I'm going to give you one more. I actually want to give you one more. Okay, so with the movies, put like an ad at the end of the movies, because you know people are waiting for the post-credit that says, hey, go to your local comic book store for this character and this character and this character. I know, because the movie people don't care about comic books, but I'm saying the comic book industry should at least advocate for that, because what you do with that is you get the movie audience, because a lot of people don't know that these characters are based on comics. So if, say you're going to like when you see Matt Reeves' The Batman 2, after the post-credit scene, if there is one, it doesn't even have to be an animated or a music. It just has like a bunch of it's like a screen with a bunch of Batman trades come on, kind of like how like when the collector's edition of a video game comes out, the screen comes up that shows you what's in it. It's just a couple of trades for like Batman, even the ones that inspired this movie, and say, for more on Batman, visit your local comic book store. That's all you have to do. It's a cheap, like 5-second ad at the end of the movie, because you know that they're waiting for the post-credit, and that way you get people to say, oh, actually, that's really cool. I should go check that out. That's my last bonus thing. Hope you guys enjoyed my my video, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments. Stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.